All right, let me share my screen. Okay, so lesson 2, guys, we're going to go over some mind map stuff, some other stuff about fasting. Going to go over some morning routine stuff and your roles. So some cool stuff tonight. Try to have a pen and paper handy for when we get to some of the mind map stuff. Might have to do a little bit of work on that. Before we get into, so something new I'm doing in this Ripdads that I never did before, we never did, was every week there's going to be a dad of the week based on performance, based on what we're seeing in the group and whatnot, what the coaches are telling me. So if you get that, I posted, you get one of the, you either get the dad's hat, the black one, or you could get the flat brim old school champion's choice with the gorilla on it. We should have them at both gyms. That one is actually the original business, the original logo, the one with the gorilla. So if you're wondering what that is, Champion Choice Personal Training, that was 2007 when I started. That was the original logo, original business. So this week it goes to Frank Sabatino. So Frank was coming back from a knee surgery, a couple of knee surgeries. Frank dropped almost 12 pounds in the first week. He's got 13.8 points, I believe. So he's leading the pack. It's early, but he's leading the pack. Some of you guys had amazing first weeks. Everybody's making progress. So Frank, congratulations. That's him and his son right there. So Frank, get your hat when you're at the gym next time, or I'll be there tomorrow. I'll be able to hook you up with it. But just keep consistent, guys. Keep consistent. The scoreboard I will do chronologically next week. Remember how that is scored, and it's not just based on that, but out the first week. I've seen Frank in the gym a few times. I know he's working through the knee pain, but that's part of why he's doing this, a big part. But the way we score it is how much muscle you gain. So every pound of muscle you gain, you get a point, and percent body fat loss. So if you went from 20 to 10, that's 10%. Okay, total, but it's 50% of your body fat. If you went from 50% to 40%, it's still 10%, but it's only 20% of your body fat. So it evens out for the guys that are starting from a leaner point of view. We add that to how much muscle you gained. So congratulations, Frank. Good job leading the pack, buddy. So let's go over a little bit deeper stuff with fasting. And again, hold questions till the end, just like last week. Keep track of them. Write them down as we're going because you might forget. Couple of things about fasting that you're not really going to, a lot of the stuff I'll teach you about fasting, you're not really going to hear anywhere else unless you really, go through a lot of different books and whatnot. But mucus. So I want to talk about mucus first. Most people are not aware what mucus, the purpose of mucus, like when you get sick or whatnot. Mucus is really to trap any toxins or parasites or bacteria, viruses, and get them out of the body. Mucus isn't a bad thing necessarily. The way most people eat, they're producing constant mucus just from what they're eating. A lot of toxins in the food, eating too often. In the fall, it was early September, I decided to do a 10-day, fast/cleanse. I was still doing lemon juice, squeeze with cayenne pepper and stuff. But up until that point, I'd had this persistent cough. I've gotten pretty bad in the past, respiratory infections. Within 3 days of doing this, 3 days, everything was cleared up. So it's very powerful. But the purpose of mucus is to get stuff out of your body. I want you to pay attention when you're eating. If you're producing mucus after those meals, or if certain types of foods make you produce more mucus, just start paying attention to that. Eating stuff like fruit, a lot of fruit is going to help keep mucus down. Okay, there's certain foods that are going to cause more mucus. Some people that could be too much animal protein. It could be too much wheat. It could be anything. Pasteurized milk is probably one of the worst things that you could have, pasteurized milk. So if you're going to drink cow's milk, you want it to be raw. You don't want to drink pasteurized milk. Now, the formula for vitality. So one of the next Panda book that I'm writing is about the energy that we get from fasting. And it's not a stimulant energy. And at this point, if you've been doing it, and it's only going to get better, but you should start noticing an increase in your energy. For some people, they're not going to get that mid-afternoon slump. They're not going to get tired right after they eat. For other people, it's just going to be this constant, nice, even energy. So talking about vitality, how do we stay young? So the less obstruction we have within our blood, right? So when we first start fasting, here's what's going to happen, especially as we get into the longer ones. You might feel great at first, then you might go through a slump that could be withdrawal symptoms, or it could be your body releasing toxins. So toxins are stored in your fat cells. Because we start opening those up and those toxins come into the bloodstream, it might not make you feel well for a short period of time. It could be a couple of days, could be whatever. But excuse me, as we clear up those obstructions within the bloodstream, we're going to increase the oxygen in the bloodstream, right? So we'll call that air pressure here. So the air pressure is going to lead to less obstruction, less toxins within the blood, less mucus in the blood, more air pressure, meaning more oxygenated blood, the more vitality you're gonna have. So that's a real simple formula, but you're gonna see that to be true. You do get younger biologically when you fast and you start doing it consistently and you take it seriously and you're doing it day in and day out. Doesn't mean you're gonna do it every day the rest of your life. It's a practice, guys. Remember, fasting is a practice. You practice it. Sometimes in practice, we mess up, and then you hop back on. That's all there is to it. This one is a new one I'm teaching the dads. So something I've been looking at lately. It might sound like a strange topic, but semen retention. So it's, to me, we have the two greatest assets that we possess, okay, as human beings, is your confidence and your energy. Okay, the two greatest assets we possess is your confidence. Energy. Energy is number one. Energy is the life force. So we're just talking about that with fasting. Now, there's an old book, Think and Grow Rich. Some of you have probably read that. Real famous book, Napoleon Hill. But one of the chapters within the book, he's talking about sexual transmutation. Now, what this is really is when you take that energy, like so many guys spend so much energy just thinking about that, right? Thinking about sex, thinking about having an orgasm. The reason that boxers and warriors throughout history have practiced this is because it works. It increases your energy dramatically. So think about if one time that a guy ejaculates, one time has enough sperm to populate the entire country. So you have over 300 million sperm within one ejaculate. That is life force. That is your ability to create life. If we constantly deplete that, right? I'm not talking about sex with your wife, guys. I'm telling you stuff that I study that works. I'm talking about, and this is between you and yourself, but I'll let Dave in here. If you guys are masturbating too much, jerking off too much, you are chronically depleting your energy in the essence of your body. So saliva in basically your semen is the essence that's going to increase your energy. When the sort of transmutation is when we don't focus so much on that, we can put that energy elsewhere. You're going to start to be more driven. You're going to start to have a different look about you. It's actually going to help with testosterone levels. So you have all these things. Right? I know in the past 5-6 years, when I wasn't as involved with the businesses because of the kids, so my mind was not as occupied. I was hounding Devin all the time, right? And as soon as I put my focus in back on that, it takes energy away from that. So the energy pool that you're pulling from, we have it within us, but this is something to be mindful of, guys. Something to be mindful. And there's plenty of research. I'm not getting too far into your business, but there's plenty of research how harmful and how bad watching things like pornography are in the human brain. So just planting that seed in you guys' head. It's all about increasing your energy. So anything that I can teach you that's going to help you increase your energy is going to give you a better life. So that is that on the semen retention piece. And when I'm talking about this, it means there's different things, but some texts, if it's with your wife and whatever, that's fine. But you don't need it every day, guys. Different, a lot of this, if you look at Eastern philosophy, once a week, once every 8 days, once every 15 days. I mean, there's guys that I study that'll go months because they want to experiment. You don't have to do that. But the point is just planting that seed in your head. Morning routine. I did not get to talk to you guys about this last week. In the Rip Dads Facebook group, I have a morning routine manual. You can do the whole thing if you want. That's pretty much what my morning routine is. But if we're talking about habits, you're working on the fasting. Some of you, the working out is new. We want to start thinking about a morning routine. And a successful day starts the night before. So that means you're planning out your next day, plan that out the night before. Your subconscious brain will go to work on that. And part of planning out that day is knowing what your morning looks like. One of the first things that you want, and this is something Charles Poliquin, who was a genius, he passed away a couple of years ago, he taught me, was all the sleep research he would look at. A consistent wake-up time is the most important thing in determining quality of sleep. A consistent wake-up time. So if you get up at 6 a.m., get up at 6 a.m. Don't do 6, 7, 6:30, 7:30. Consistent wake-up time, which is going to take discipline on the night before. But jot down what you're going to do in the morning. Big believer that movement should be one of the first things you do when you get out of bed. There's certain growth factors that can only get into your brain through physical movement. That kind of, I think I might have mentioned this last week with you guys, but that's a survival mechanism. That's meant to make you feel good. So you could strive if you had to go out thousands of years ago and find food and hunt for food. That whole mechanism, the reason those growth hormones and those endorphins get into your brain with physical movement is to keep you moving, wanting to move. It makes you feel good. Otherwise, you just say, I'm too tired. You're just going to starve to death, right? If you go back again, how the body and the brain evolved. So starting with movement of somehow. So what I recommend for that is you wake up, take a pee, do whatever you got to do some push-ups, or especially now it's getting a little warmer out, go out for a walk. Go out for a walk, put your headphones in if you want, but just go out for like a 20-minute walk. It's a great way to start your day. You're going to feel good right out the gate. Some of you are going to the gym, which is fine too. Once you get that piece down, and you can mix it, this is my recommendation. You can mix this however you want. Then I would pick one of the other things I have in there. Maybe journaling, maybe reading, meditating, visualization, cold shower. All these things are very impactful on the nervous system and the brain. So just start thinking about this, right? I'm just planting the seed in you guys' head with some of this stuff. And then as the other lessons come up, I will do some, I'll do some cool stuff with you guys about writing, like the effect of cursive handwriting on the brain and how it affects literally every part of your brain, even just holding the pen, getting ready to write. Way different than typing on a keyboard. Visualization, I'll be teaching you guys, very powerful. So I'll have that in one of the lessons, teach you about cold showers, but start with movement. We're going to start with the simplest thing. Wake up, try to move. Even if it's 5 minutes, that's fine. You can do squats for 5 minutes. Body weight squats. So a lot of you have heard me talk about mind mapping. Some of you have been through this before. Mind mapping is the science of how your brain forms habits. To be successful, you have to form habits around what you are doing, whatever that is. So for us in this program, it's trying to get you guys to form a habit around the physical movement, right? Doing something physical every day, and you're fasting. When it comes to habits, it's not as simple as the information, right? So mind map, basically, you have 3 different layers of the brain. The brain's all interconnected. It all works together. But the way I used to explain it, and there's a newer way I explain it now, but just to keep it real simple for you guys, you got the reptile brain, okay, your brain stem, and you got the mammalian brain, the mammal brain, and then the human brain on top of that. The reptile brain, the concerns of the reptile brain are pure survival, right? It's making sure you have food, making sure you can procreate, making sure you're physiologically safe. The mammal brain, the midbrain, is more for connection. It's relationships, it's emotion, all those types of things. And then the human part of your brain is forward thought. That is setting goals. That's being able to set a goal and go after it and achieve it. So you have those three different layers. Now, the human part of your brain has to be able to hold that thought long enough until it can become a habit, right? So you got to be able to stay in your human brain long enough over a period of time until something becomes a habit where it becomes automatic. I'll come back to that in a second. But if you look at even the act of forming a habit is a survival mechanism. Habits free up your headspace so you don't have to think about every single thing you have to do every single day. If you had to do that, you wouldn't be able to locate threats. Your brain is always trying to free headspace so it can do forward thinking, forward planning. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. Your brain wants to be able to predict and respond, predict and respond, predict and respond. So going back to the layers of the brain, if there's something going on in those deeper parts of your brain, like when I do one-on-one mind maps, a lot of the time it's something about the person's career or relationships or confidence issues. It's usually nothing to do with what do I eat? How do I fast? How do I train? Those other deeper issues will keep pulling you out of your human brain, right? And this is why people stress eat. This is part of the reason, things of that nature. But we need to be able to clear up any issues that are going on, right? And have a strategy to deal with them to have a better chance at forming habits. That's this, amongst other reasons, one of the many reasons your North American diets, typical diets, will not work. So mind map is something I'm going to be teaching you more over the next 4 lessons after tonight, but it's really cool science. And it's really useful to know. So next week I'll have stuff that you can apply right away with your life with mind map. You know, how to use them in relationships, how to work on your inner dialogue, which is environment number 1. So environments too, guys, while I'm on that, with your brain, the 2 most threatening things with the human brain are environments and judgment. Environments and judgment. And there's 6 different types of environment. But when you go to let's say you're going to a place, like the first time some of you came into the gym, I don't care who you are, there's a little bit of uneasiness, right? Because you don't know anybody there. You're not sure the layout. You're not sure the physical layout, all this type of stuff. So environments are very threatening to the brain. Again, I'll go into that deeper in the next few lessons. And then judgment. The reason judgment is very threatening is we used to travel in packs and tribes. So think of your children. Let's say it's hard to imagine, but you just did not like this one child. Okay, let's say it's a stepchild, whatever. And you decided, so you're judging them, that you want to kick them out. You want to kick them out of the group. Their chance for survival goes way down. So the brain is still sensitive to that. That is the very reason why most people are petrified of public speaking. The brain is picking up on potential perceived judgment. So judgment in environments are very threatening to the brain. Now, if you have a pen and piece of paper, we're going to take a couple minutes on this. Because at the end of the day, guys, the Ripped Dads is about helping you, giving you more energy, but helping you fulfill your role as a dad and a husband better. So what I want you to do here, I'm going to give you about 90 seconds. And I put a few of them up here. You're going to write down all the roles that you play in your life. So obviously you're a father, maybe a husband, maybe a brother. So go ahead, take 90 seconds, jot down all those roles that you play in your life. About 30 more seconds, guys. Okay. So make sure that list is comprehensive. Remember, you could be a sibling, you could be a son, you're an individual, you could be an athlete, you could be whatever your career is. Have all those things. Now, on that list, I guarantee you that some of those you don't have to think of because you're doing them all the time. A lot of times our career kind of is taken care of, meaning we're working 5 days a week, 6 days a week, putting a lot of effort into that. But look at that list and see where you're not giving enough attention to, whether that is being the father you want to be, being the husband you want to be, being the brother, being the friend. There's always some roles that we need to consciously put attention on. Where your attention goes, so think of it like a flashlight, where your attention goes, energy flows and results will follow. So any of those areas of your life that you aren't happy with right now, I guarantee you it's just because you're not putting the proper attention on it. So really think about that. And as dads and husbands, something that I started doing, which has been great, is, and again, just an idea, plan out dates, individual dates with your children. Plan out specific date nights with your wife. You do it. You find the sitter. You take care of everything. Right? You start taking control of this stuff, but start thinking about the roles that you play in your life. And for some of us, that might be the individual role. Maybe you're not giving yourself enough time to relax and do fun stuff for yourself, which is super important. You got to take care of yourself first, because otherwise you're not going to be able to show up and be the man that you want to be if you're tired and you're always dragging. And I think everybody, excuse me, in this program is doing this for one of those reasons, right? We talked about increasing energy. You're putting yourself first with this, which is a great thing. Now with mind mapping, there's 7 different M's of mind mapping, we call it. So the fourth one, there's 4 really modalities, 4 modalities. So to give you guys an idea, once we really start digging into the brain, the main thing with this 6 weeks is for you to explore, right? Explore the fasting, explore the working out, experiment with it. If you want to go longer fast, like when we do the Panda or even the Ripped Ads, some people will go longer fast. Some guys in the group have, they can share their experience with you, but exploration. Now, it's my job to encourage you to explore and guide you. So the definition of a coach really comes from stagecoach. It's to get somebody from point A to point B. And point B is a spot they can't get to by themselves. So utilize me and the other coaches to help guide you along that path. If, I'll be checking in pretty much weekly with you guys individually. There's going to be times when I want to challenge you guys, and give you something to work on. Right. Sometimes those challenges need to be broken up. Like, okay, maybe that was too much. Let's try this. And it's not about me judging you or me scolding you. That's not what that's about at all. It's just me being a mirror for you and then confronting you sometimes. Why didn't you stick with it? What was going on? All right, let's figure that out. So that's the big part of coaching is explore, guide, challenge, and confront. But think about this with yourself is to explore, think about the path you're going down. What challenges can you do? So obviously you're doing a challenge, you're doing a contest right now, Ripped Ads, and then confronting when things aren't going. I keep falling off when I get to the 21st hour. So then we got to figure it out. So some of you, and he'll tell you this. So Steve Parenti, he's a client of ours in Flemington. Steve's he's got 11 physical therapy places now. He's going to be opening number 12 in Hillsborough soon. Steve is crushing it. So he started with us probably a year and a half ago. And he wanted to go over fasting at that time. And at the time, he wasn't there mentally, to do it. And you could see when somebody's not, but he had asked me about it. So I explained it to him in the Panda book and all that. And he's told me a few times now, because this is key. I mean, now he's just on a roll, this guy, with his fasting and his workouts. I told him, your brain will not form a habit around anything it doesn't find pleasurable. right? So think about that. It goes against survival mechanisms for you to form a habit around something that you don't find some pleasure in. So think about that with fasting. You can either look at it from the point of view that you're depriving yourself and poor you and it's so hard, or you can look at it as you actually enjoy it and how much better you're feeling and how much mental muscle, I like to call it, you're building each time you fast. Think about when you fast, just as a man, right? And let's say you have a negotiation or you got a guy sitting across the table from you. Like, this is stuff I literally think of. Now, I know most of the time, just from if I look from a fasting point of view, this guy has never gone a day in his life without eating, or he's never gone more than 12 hours or 16 hours without eating. So it gives you this weird advantage as well. So my point would tell you that is you have to reframe this sometimes. You have to reframe some of these habits that you're working on to find the pleasure in. Otherwise, your brain won't form a habit around it. And with Steve Parenti, this one line, and he tells me again all the time, that changed his whole perspective, not only on his fasting, but just about other things in his personal life. He was telling me, in his business, your brain will not form a habit around anything it doesn't find pleasurable to do. So don't think that forming a habit or doing something is going to make you find pleasure or make you happy. That's not how it works. If you're miserable doing something, we're going down the wrong path. Again, use this time to explore. So at the end of the 6 weeks, you'll be pretty clear, and I'll help you figure out what your daily week is going to look like. What's your weekly days are going to look like, and what your daily routine is going to look like. So that's the whole idea of this. This is just a launching pad for you guys. All right. So let me think before I open it up for questions. I got a couple guys that texted me questions. So one main thing with fasting, it is getting warmer out now. But when you first start the longer fasting, some of you are experiencing this because you've told me, you're going to get the chills. You're going to get cold. And what's happening there is all the blood, right? The blood is going to increase to those visceral areas and to those stubborn fat areas, which are basically around our trunk. You know, the belly, love handles, low back, that type of area, which means your extremities sometimes are going to get cold. I can tell you that, again, it's getting warmer, so it shouldn't be that much of an issue. And that's really when you're doing you'll probably notice that more as you get into like the 48s. You might notice that, but that does go away over time. That does go away over time. I think it took me like a year and a half. And again, it was only an issue when it was really cold out, or like in the fall, spring, summer, no big deal. So just something to keep it in mind. And let me see what the other question was. And then we'll take questions from you guys. So focus. So focus, guys. Focus is focus and attention. We were just talking about this before. So think about this. What you focus on determines how you feel. What you focus on determines how you feel. So if you're feeling scatterbrained and you're feeling overwhelmed, you're trying to focus on too many things. If you're feeling down and you're feeling upset about something, it's because of what you're focusing on. So to stay focused and to keep focused on what you're doing takes conscious effort. You cannot allow your emotions to drive your thoughts. That's the first step. If you feel like, and I think everybody goes through this. When your focus is fragmented, right? Like think of one of those prisms when you shine a light through it, it fragments. Rather than if you had a magnifying glass and you just have the sunlight coming down and you're burning leaves, right? It's crystallized. That's what you want your focus to be on. But you can't focus on two things at the same time. You might think you can do that. You might think you can multitask. You can't. So the way the brain works metabolically, if I told you guys to go run 100 meters straight or do 100 meters, but I want you to do 10-yard shuttles, so down and back 5 times. Metabolically, the shuttles are incredibly more difficult than running straight away. because the hardest part metabolically is the starting and the stopping. So think about your brain. If we're focused on all these different things, shifting focus from this to this to this, coming back to this, you're wasting so much mental energy by what you're doing with that, because your brain has to stop this thought to go to this, and we don't realize it because it seems to happen so quickly. But focus is really essential. But you have to be conscious of it. You have to be aware of it. You have to put pen to paper a lot of times. Something that I do every week is I do a mind dump. So, and I don't even do them that long anymore, guys, but you could do this for, I mean, the first time I did these, it was like 20, 30 minutes. So I'll do like once a week, I'll take my planner out and I just do a mind sweep. I usually do it on Fridays. And it's just anything that's on my mind. This is not a goal list. This isn't, it might be okay, I want to go see my grandma. I want anything that's on my mind, I put on that paper, because all these thoughts float around in your head and they're like little, magnets for your focus. Put them out on paper. So you got to clear your brain a lot of the times to really crystallize that focus. But when you focus on something intently, you're going to get results. That's the way it works. When you focus on, think about the results in your life. I guarantee you there's been times when you've been hyper focused on some, and just think about the results you got with that area at that time. All right. What other questions do you guys have? Just unmute yourself and I'll do my best to help you guys and answer any questions you have. Any questions, guys? Everybody good with the fasting? This week you should be on 1 meal a day. I believe week 4 is when we switch to start and go to the 48s plus 1 meal a day. And we don't have to be perfect on it. You just keep moving forward. Try to start with your fruit when you can and drink your juice. But everybody really did good with their check-ins this week. So I was real happy to see that. Any other questions, guys?
Hey, Kyle, Josh,
Yeah.
How are you?
What's up? How you doing?
I know we're going to go into the panda fasting, the 48-hour fast. What's your recommendations? What's your longest recommendations for a fast? I just recently did like a 4-day fast. Would that be recommended to do something like that while you're working out, or lean towards the 24 to 48 hours?
Yeah, and guys, by the way, Josh lost. What did you lose? Like 21 pounds the first week?
Yeah, a little over 20 pounds.
Crazy, yeah. Now with fasting, guys, what you're going to notice, especially if you're drinking a juice and you're keeping sodium in your body, you will actually gain energy the further you get into a fast. Now, as far as muscular performance, you can, if your performance is on point, you could keep fasting. You could keep going. Because remember, our body fat, once we get to that point, our body fat is the fuel. It's a food source, right? We pretty much, even if you're really lean, you have almost an unlimited amount. Like you're not going to run out of that food source. But if you, Josh, if you hit like a 4-day and then you hit, because I know your long-term goal, but then you can, I've had guys in the past do like a 4-day, then eat, then a 2-day, then eat. I've had guys do 48, eat, 48, eat, 48, eat, or, guys do 72 hours every week. So there's no right answer to that, but go based on how you feel. But it is kind of very liberating once you do a longer fast and you realize that you don't need the food. And once you kind of just get free of that, you realize that mainly it's up here, these desires for food and these things. Yeah, we need food and we want to enjoy it. We don't want it to be, this drug, right? This drug that's always pulling you around. So 4 days is awesome, Josh, that you did that. You can try longer if you want as we get into this. I've had people go 7 days. And even then, guys, when you go, like Josh, when you did that 4 days, if you totaled up, I don't know if you remember, but if you actually totaled up how much of those 4 days you had like hunger pangs, what would you estimate it was in total, minute-wise?
Minute-wise, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And
15,
that,
20 minutes, guys, out of 4
yeah,
days.
and that was only the second day at like lunchtime. That was the only time, really.
And then it went away right after that.
Yep.
That's what happens, guys. It's really, it's counterintuitive to think about, but it's just so cleansing on your body. And again, the guys that have been in this, the Panda, or they've done the fasting with us before, they know they've done it. They could tell you. Right. So you're going to be really pleasantly surprised. But good job on that, Josh. I would say, Josh, you keep exploring. Try doing another 4-day, and always dictate, guys, with your performance. Right? You could, okay, man, I'm not feeling good. I'm not even talking about performance just in the gym. It could be everyday life. All right, then eat, and then boom, let's hop on it again. For some of you, 48 is probably the max you'll ever do in your life. That's okay too. But it is. I remember the first time I did a 48, about coming up on 3 years ago. It was such a weird feeling going to bed that night that people all over the world do this every day, just because maybe they don't have access to food. So it was kind of a surreal thing to think about, that people have been doing this forever, and people do it every day. What other questions we got, guys?
Hey, Kyle. Just a quick question about progress. I know sometimes it's not always linear. You're going to hit plateaus or maybe go up and down, even though you're fasting and all that kind of stuff. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Or, expectations, if you kind of are even from one week to another, or that type of thing?
Yeah. Great question. The progress we make, guys, if we're looking at the metrics on the in-body and whatnot, it's always like a roller coaster, right? It's never just going to be a linear shot. Even if it's linear for like 2-3 weeks, it's going to stop, because what's going on, the outer effect, what we look like, what we weigh, all that stuff, is what's going on the inside of the body. So sometimes, and what we're really doing with the fasting and the workouts and whatnot, is affecting the hormonal profile of you guys. That's what we're doing. Now, fasting was weird because you will see it weird in terms of the way most people think about weight loss and all that. I think last week I went over the sequential and simultaneous model. So it's a sequence. So next time you get on the in body, you might have a dramatic change. Whereas this week it might not have changed that much. Pete, it might have stayed the same. But fasting has like a compounding effect, week by week, day by day, month by month, year by year. Those hormones they kind of build like to a critical mass, where all of a sudden you might weigh the same and you might be 4% leaner, which would mean you put on muscle too, right? We're retaining more in the muscle. So this happens. I've seen it throughout the years, but don't stress it. Just keep following the path. Like if some of you guys want to get into the 48s quicker, by all means, you can start doing that this week. You don't have to wait for what I have in the schedule. That's kind of a starting schedule where you can dive into it. And again, it's about exploring. Okay, how does a 48 make me feel? And I told you guys, I think I told you last week, 48s has become my way of life. Every week I start my week just like you guys are going to be doing, because I feel great doing it. Right? You go on vacation, you have other stuff coming up. But I could tell you, if the rare occasion when I miss a Monday night, let's say like the collegiate football national championship, I always watch out with my buddies every year. So I eat that. I don't stress it, but you do miss it. You don't feel the same. You don't feel quite as right, is what I found. But use it to explore right now. And then let's see what a check-in is this week. And then based on, as we keep going forward, guys, with your check-ins, if something does seem off or you're not getting, then we just tell me and I can individually tweak it for you, whatever we're doing with the fasting protocol.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. What else do we got, guys? Any other questions? All right. If there's no other questions, remember, do your check-in towards the end of the week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, that range. Some of you guys that did not have your in bodies, so my number is in the group. I think it's pinned to post. Just text it over to me, so it makes it easy. I can just put it right into the spreadsheet. Keep getting your workouts in and keep up with the fasting. But think about some of the stuff we went over tonight, though. Planted a lot of seeds tonight, so just start thinking about some of this stuff. You guys have a good night, okay? Later, boys.
Thanks, Kyle.
You're welcome.
Thanks, guys.
You're
Great
welcome.
night, everyone.
Good night.